In terms of valuation, I mentioned on the first slide there, $5 per resource ounce. And that's calculated by taking just Fortune Bay's market cap and by dividing it by the resource ounces at Goldfields on a US dollar basis. And that's done the same for these other companies with similar type projects in Canada. So although we compare fairly well in terms of the various attributes of the project, our valuation is certainly low and provides, I think, a really attractive buying opportunity for Fortune Bay. And as I mentioned, with, I believe, very limited downside risk. On this graph on the bottom has all the details around the different studies that were done. I'm not going to get into that into any detail here, but it is available on our corporate presentation. We have that existing resource across the categories of around 1.2 million ounces at Goldfields. But outside of that, we do see opportunities to expand those resources. Firstly, at Box and Athona, both those deposits are still open. At Box, we drilled some holes last year and the year before in 2021 outside of the mineral resource, where we saw some really nice long intervals of grades around 1 to 2 gram a ton. But within that, some higher grades of 8, those listed there, 8.7 over 5, 13.22 gram a ton over 8, 2.5 over 8, and 8 over 12. So, and a lot of those intersections, they sit within very discrete structures. And we believe additional drilling could prove continuity of those higher grades, which would be then amenable to underground potential. Obviously, there's also scope to expand that pit. We're not encroaching on the lake, and we've got room to push that hanging wall pit face back. So there's some potential to take out more gold at the Box deposit, as well as explore underground potential. We see that system, it continues, it's open. There's a historical hole between Box and Athona that intersected 3.8 gram a ton over 3 meters within a mineralized granite, very similar to what we see at Box. So potential to keep expanding the system into the Athona Peninsula area with possible linkages to Athona itself. Athona is open to the south. That does go into the lake. So there'll, economic considerations would need to be taken into account should one want to look at a cofferdam in future. But the resource and the open pit mining is all on land at present. And the Athona West mine granite offers some potential for expansion. There's been some drilling into that body before, including 3.8 gram a ton over 7.2 meters, but not enough to estimate a resource yet. So that there's additional drilling needed there to add to the Athona resource. The next advanced prospect is Frontier, where historically there's been some historical underground development and some encouraging grades around that prospect. Additional drilling is needed where we see it's open, and that could be developed into a resource which would be an open pit target. Outside of Frontier, there are two other regional prospects, Golden Pond and Triangle, both which warrant further exploration work. We've put our heads together on those and developed some areas that warrant follow-up, and as well as like a drilling methodology based on the structural setting of those occurrences.